Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
It's amazing.
And that's remarkable.
Alex, as I look out the window, the frightful winter weather hitting the New York City metropolitan area, I find myself hoping and dreaming about opening day, warm summer weather to come, the frost defrosting, the snow melting, the sun coming out, and a new baseball season being born.
Oh, we got a regular Bart Giamatti over here.
I think of myself more as Charlie Brown from the comic strip where he sees the baseball rising and his life improves. And so as I sat down to do some research to talk about none other than our favorite topic, the Los Angeles Dodgers, I'm sitting here, snowed in, scrolling Google search results, varying levels of quality these past few months and years. I look over to my computer and I see some discussion of the Los Angeles Dodgers. What do I see? I see a headline from rumbunter.com, which is the fan-sided Pittsburgh Pirates community. Headline: Kyle Tucker signing with Dodgers quietly changes Pirates offseason math. Subhead: This hits different in Pittsburgh. Now, okay, this was 2 days ago. I'm not trying to hate on Fansided or any other local community blog trying to find the angle into news for their readership and community. I'm not trying to hate on that at all. I'm just trying to say that headline is better than anything else I could have made up with my bit this offseason.
It really is. I mean, it's the equivalent of the local paper, right? That, a Long Island paper, let's call it Newsday, right? When a kid from good name. When a kid from Long Island,
there's news, and then each day you talk about different news.
It's very straightforward. Exactly. Right. And Long Island born kid, right, makes it to the All-Star game. You got to find the local angle. You just got it. So frankly, my hat's off to this author, because it's not easy. Sometimes you got to make content out of lemons.
Unfortunate, dude. Speaking of lemons, I didn't even tell you about this, and you probably didn't see because you're not on Twitter anymore. I saw some protein lemonade at the grocery store when I was doing my New York City storm shopping. Protein lemonade.
Okay.
You see that, you think what? You think, like, how did they make this? You're there in the factory when they're making the protein lemonade. What do you see?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what macros are. So, like, I don't know how they put fucking protein in lemonade. But again, this is why I remain willfully ignorant of this world, because it's a farce. I don't need protein lemonade. I want sugary lemonade. I don't want to feel good drinking it.
Well, you want to feel good, but for like 15 minutes.
Right.
And then you want to feel bad again.
Yeah.
And then you just keep going back to the well. More lemonade.
Yeah.
Are you a big lemonade drinker?
Not particularly. I like a nice Arnold Palmer, though.
I think I do love lemonade. I think that's why I was so hurt by this protein lemonade. I was like, why not just regular lemonade?
A bastardization.
Exactly. I'm trying to imagine the person who's like, I love lemonade so much that I have to incorporate protein to hit my nutrient goals into lemonade, because it's the only thing I will drink.
I drink enough of it that it's actually going to move the needle for me.
I didn't actually look on it, or I don't remember what it was, how many grams of protein were in this lemonade, but it seems like you'd have to be drinking a lot of protein lemonades to really get where you need to go.
Don't knock it till you try it.
This is the case for most things nowadays that are marketed as protein forward. And I hate to derail the podcast this early on, but long time and even short time listeners will know how important this is to us. It was a topic of discussion mere weeks ago on the state of labor in baseball.
Of course.
This is the thing that they market things as being protein, big capital letters, and it's like 6 grams.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's not protein for. You'd have to eat like 100 of those.
That's protein backwards. It's okay. I think 2026 is the year the protein industrial complex collapses. I'm praying on its downfall. That and AI.
These things move. Which one is more important for you to collapse? These things move so slowly, though, bro.
I know.
It's like they've been printing the boxes for 2 years now, so they're gonna have 2 more years worth of boxes that say protein on them. It's just gonna move from one place to the next. I already see people reallocating the energy that they had for protein 18 months ago into fiber now. Everyone's like, I want to get fiber now. You're also being manipulated.
Yeah,
like the Eddington thing. You're being what is it?
I don't know. I didn't actually see the movie, even though I told you I would.
It is manipulated. You're being manipulated, but your is spelled wrong.
Yeah.
You're being manipulated, people.
It's true.
Don't eat protein. Don't eat fiber. Just eat like Alex. Eggo waffles.
Literally, my breakfast this morning.
Arnold
fried
Palmer.
Egg. Let's go.
Black coffee. Bacon. And in and out twice a year. Bang, son. That's the food pyramid.
That's my food pyramid. RFK, what say you? You mentioned this balmy weather we have outside.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was doing research for the podcast, I came across a tweet in reply to Brent Rooker. Plays for the Oakland A's, who Freudian slip, who plays for the A's, who plays for A's.
Mm-hmm. Just A's. It's cleaner.
Who was talking about how people are at each other's throats on meteorologist Twitter about which models are going to be more correct about snowfall totals, and who
would have thought those folks might have moved over to Threads or Blue Sky by now.
Nope. You're just looking in the wrong places. Who replies to this tweet, but none other than one Mike Trout, who chimes in and says, if the model gives their town, they're spelled THERE, gives their town more snow, it's the one they use. If it shows any mixing or less accumulations, you throw it out. I'm guilty of it too. Laughing emoji. It has been so long since I've actively thought about Mike Trout that I kind of forgot that this is his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is loving the weather.
It really is his thing, though. He's not new to this. He's true to this. He really seems to care, which is weird because most baseball players don't have a hobby as esoteric as this one. Yeah. Most baseball players' hobby is Morgan Wallen or college football.
Right.
It's that's not really even a hobby. That's just a piece of culture that's unavoidable.
Well, I've come all the way around in it. I really respect him now as someone who over the last week was just reading blogs about models. You didn't respect him when he put up
100 WAR in the first 7 years of his career, but now you do.
Not.
As a guy who's on YouTube watching meteorology videos, you're like, that's a guy that I can get behind.
Reading Patreon blogs about snowfall totals. Why am I doing this? But now I get it.
Nicely done, dude. I
see the vision.
No one reads Substack. Everyone reads Patreon newsletters.
That's right, they
days.
do. Mm-hmm.
Everyone's moving off of Substack.
Anyway, I just wanted to give a shout out to the once and future king of baseball weather Twitter.
It was a big moment for him. It's the Super Bowl for meteorologists.
Real.
The past 10 days.
Yeah.
Some of you listening to this right now might have even seen in your TikTok algorithm recommended to you some videos from Glenn Hurricane Schwartz, my local Philadelphia meteorologist, who's a legend of epic proportions. Always wears a bow tie. Seems like a nice guy. A nice guy.
He does. And that's a nice reference, too, because you are back on TikTok, is what I hear.
I don't even know how to respond to that. All right. Back on TikTok would mean that I would have had to be there in the first place.
You're a late adopter.
Every time I try to open one of these links that someone sends to me, it always opens the App Store. I'm like, please make it stop.
It's crazy that they haven't figured this out yet.
Well, they don't want you to be able to watch the video without the app, from what I understand. I don't know, these companies, they just want you in their app. Have you heard, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's got an app these days. All right. We have what I'm calling the way too early look at the 2027 CBA negotiations. A lot of stuff has happened in these past couple months in the offseason. that we've talked about for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but we had another, we had the rest of the episode to get to. Namely, the conversation around the Dodgers is something I feel like we've been sidestepping a little bit, in part because we feel like we've done a lot of work talking about the Dodgers in the last couple of years and what they are doing and whether or not it is throwing off competitive balance in the league. So we're going to talk about a couple of those things and maybe actually how they haven't done that much this offseason, which is interesting. So this is going to be somewhat of a spiritual successor to last year's Here's How to Talk to the Anti-Dodgers Person in Your Life episode that we did, which was fun. And then a spiritual predecessor to what is no doubt to come, many, many episodes covering the expiration of the CBA and the impending lockout that the owners will foist upon the players. Before we get to that, I am Bobby Wag.
I am Alex Baisley.
And you are listening to Tipping Pitches. Okay, before we talk about the Dodgers and the collective bargaining agreement, it seems like the only two topics of this podcast for years now at this point. Wanted to take a second. Obviously, it's weird to be hosting a comedic baseball podcast in a moment in America, in so many communities, Minneapolis in particular, that are facing such present, urgent, dangerous, tyrannical overreaches by secret police who are shooting people in the streets. We are obviously well aware of that dissonance that doing a show like this, being on the internet in general, creates. I wanted to take a second to send our deepest well wishes to anybody who listens to the show in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, in any community that ICE is occupying right now. We're sending our love and support. If you are a community organizer, if you're involved in mutual aid in your local community, and there are places that you know that are doing incredible work to try to lift up the people who are being targeted in these communities, please always feel free to reach out to us and share whatever links, whatever ways people can get involved in that mutual aid and community organizing. We don't have a huge reach here, but we do have a really, really dedicated community of people who care about their neighbors. And we would love to share those as far and wide as we possibly can. We would love to contribute to them ourselves. It's weird to be talking about a sports league at this moment, but also it's kind of not, because these sports leagues are so political by nature. We saw a video of Alex Rodriguez, who we've turned into a meme on the show over the years, being asked about what he would say to President Trump and being quite flippant about it. I was really disappointed to see that video. Sports is so obviously wedded into the fabric of everything that goes on in a city, and how a city operates, and how a city runs, and how the country runs, in the ways that entertainment covers up some of this stuff. And I gotta say, I've been really disappointed with how sports leagues have met this moment. The NBA postponed the Timberwolves versus Warriors game Saturday night, I can't remember, which was being held in Minneapolis. And that was kind of all they did. They didn't really say much else, take much of a stance on what was going on. They just sort of sidestepped it. So I don't know. I wanted to acknowledge that, to share with folks who might be listening from specifically Minneapolis, but also obviously anywhere where ICE is targeting folks in most major cities across America. Because frankly, like, for the last week, I haven't really been thinking all that much about baseball. I haven't really been reading all that much about baseball. I think you and a lot of other people have just had my attention and headspace just totally dominated by what's been going on.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously we stand with Minnesota, the strikers, the teachers, everyone who is out there on the front lines protecting their communities. I think that element of it has been really heartening to see. I want to echo your point that I think, like, this is a moment where it feels really incumbent upon sports to recognize how intertwined it is with like the fabric of American life. And I don't know. I hope we see more players, teams coming to that realization. Again, even in a sport like baseball that feels so insular, these teams are part of their communities. They and hold an outsized position in them. I mean, all 4 major sports leagues commissioners are going to be at the White House this week talking to the president about America's 250th birthday celebration or whatever. Feels like a decent time to leverage your power. I'm not optimistic about it, but I think this really is a time to put your faith in your neighbors and to stand in solidarity with them. And there really is not much more we can do as individuals right now. So, just reiterating that we stand with everyone in the Twin Cities and anywhere else that's under federal occupation right now. And, we're going to try and talk about Kyle Tucker, even though it's fucking weird to be doing that right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen a number of people write and speak smartly about what sports leagues can do in the face of this kind of rapidly descending political environment, whether or not they really have that much of an impact or even have that much power to take politicians to task, to make demands of the government. And I just will say, like, whether or not Rob Manfred can walk into the Oval Office and say this is what you should do it's not for me to make that judgment. I think the answer is probably no, but he was certainly comfortable walking into the Oval Office and saying, hey, these are our business interests. Can you please protect them? When Trump was inaugurated this most recent time. And he, over his tenure, has certainly been comfortable walking into the Oval Office or walking up to Capitol Hill for various senators who sit on foreign committees and saying, allow us to operate this way internationally. Allow us to represent the American Department of State in certain ways as we try to get players into America to continue to make us more money. And the hypocrisy to not care about when sorry to use a phrase that is very in vogue right now, but when the imperial boomerang comes home and starts to affect people in the communities where you actually want to host these sporting events and you can't do it anymore because there's a militarized police force blocking the entryway to your arena that the taxpayers paid for you, it's galling. I mean, it's galling to see sports owners and people in power within these organizations not care to do anything or not have the courage to do anything, even if they might care. And, you and I have watched, everybody listening to this show has watched Rob Manfred put his boot on the neck of every local official in all 30 states or cities where these teams reside for the last decade to pressure them into giving him money, to giving his owners money, functionally him money, because the owners pay his salary. And yet when it comes to protecting the most vulnerable people in a community that spends billions and billions of dollars, trillions of dollars over a decade on your product, a lot of silence. Like, it's a lot of sidestepping. So yes, we are going to talk about baseball because that's what we do. We come here, we talk about baseball. But I don't know. It felt important to say that before we do. Okay. The Dodgers, Alex. Our Los Angeles Dodgers. The internet's Los Angeles Dodgers. In some ways, I feel as though the Dodgers as an organization have become devoid of any meaning of what they're actually doing. They're more of a concept than a reality at this point. If you go on baseball Twitter, if you spend any time on there or on the baseball internet, or even if you read fan-sided blogs from other teams, it kind of doesn't actually really matter what they're doing It's more about the idea of them. So I thought we could spend a little bit of time talking about what their offseason has looked like so far, but then zoom out a little bit and talk about the Dodgers as boogeyman for the idea of a large market extracting from a small market. And then from that point on, I think it's an interesting time before the preseason starts to ramp up, before pitchers and catchers report, for us to take a look at what next offseason might actually look like, what a lockout might actually look like, what's going to be on the table, what's going to be at the forefront of these conversations, because the Dodgers occupy an interesting space with all of these things. They have been scapegoated for many of them. So can I say, like, when doing research for this, I was pretty stunned by how little the Dodgers have done this offseason. In your mind, did you think they did more than this? And by this, I mean they signed Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz, and that's all.
Right.
That's it. Mm-hmm. That's all they've done.
Yeah, I think I was surprised because I did similar research as you and assumed that they had spent $300 million this offseason. And
you did your own research, and I did my own research.
We
came
love
to the
doing
same
our
conclusion.
Own research.
That's called peer reviewed.
Obviously, these conversations are not limited to this offseason. They are sort of continuations of popular claims that have been made around the Dodgers over the last few years, sort of stemming, I think, from the Shohei Ohtani signing, right? A lot of people felt that is when a lot of people started discussing the idea of deferred money, started opening their eyes, I think, to this strategy. The Dodgers included, right? We have seen more deals like this, not the Dodgers alone, but we have seen them structuring more deals like this in an effort to avoid like current salary limitations. So, but I do think like the Kyle Tucker signing reignited this in a really big way, in large part just because of the sheer size of that contract on like an AAV basis. 4 years, $240 million. $60 million a year is I believe that's the highest we've seen, right? And in terms of like real money. Now, obviously, like basically by a lot. Now, like I think effectively what, half of this money is deferred roughly? Am I correct in that?
So, okay. So a lot of it is deferred, but he also got like a $70 million signing bonus, basically. Mm-hmm. So the combination of getting that much money up front, having the opt-outs, and deferring some of the money should he actually opt in means that we don't totally know exactly how much money is going to go to him and on what dates. Mm-hmm. But for the purposes of the luxury tax, the competitive balance tax, I like how we still call it a luxury tax, even though that's not what it is. That just used to be called that. They renamed it, and most of us were just like, we like luxury better. We love to think about luxury items.
That's right, we do.
I think basically his AAV comes out to like 57 or 58, which it breaks the record that was set last offseason by Juan Soto by like 5 or 6 million.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because Kyle Tucker is older and worse than Juan Soto. Now, it's for 4 years, not for 15 years. So these are different sized contracts when you really weigh all of the factors. But that's why people were mad. And a lot of people have been doing this thing where they go to Spot Track, which is a website that should be subscription only, in my opinion, because people don't know how to use it. They go to Spot Track and they're like, wow, the Dodgers only have to pay $2 million for Kyle Tucker this year, or for Shohei Ohtani this year, or $5 million to Kyle, whatever it actually looks like when you say, like, here's the cash out to Kyle Tucker this year. I'm like, yeah, they just wrote him a check for $70 million.
Right.
That's more than the Pirates have ever given out in guaranteed money for a whole deal. Kyle Tucker got that in one day.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly what it seems here.
Well, they're still paying a luxury tax on that too, right? Deferrals do not change your luxury tax calculation.
Only to the extent that they change the average annual value for the purposes of the CBT calculation, which is the net present value conversation that we've been having over the last few years. Ohtani's deal is $70 million in average annual value technically, but so much of it is deferred that they're only paying $46.8 million or whatever in average annual in net present value for the purposes of the CBA. This was the biggest offense, honestly, was that number going from 70 to 47.
Mm-hmm.
And people were like, whoa, this extra 23 million. 23 million, amount that the Pirates, the Rays, they won't even hand out that money to a normal person just for one player, let alone. Yeah. Okay. I'm already getting out.
But they almost,
what you were saying.
But they almost did, right? Or with Kyle Schwarber and Kyle Tucker, frankly.
Yeah. They were close on Schwarber, though.
I can't believe.
Like, they're close in so many ways. If you think about it, they probably finished second in terms of salary, maybe third, maybe fourth.
Yeah.
That's pretty close. It was close. Teams. If you finish 4 out of 30, that's pretty good. That's like the Mets a couple years ago, and everyone was like, great season.
Right. And close counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and
free
building your roster. Yeah.
Okay, that's number one. Number two. Hey, wait.
Okay,
number two. He went to the Phils, and the Pirates are also in Pennsylvania. I mean, that's pretty close.
That's real close,
dude. He's going to be paying taxes to the same tax collectors as if he was on the Pirates. So he's basically on the team, if you think about it.
I can't believe how much I've had to think about like the time value of money for this podcast specifically. Like
it's edifying though.
I suppose, but if there's one thing I'm upset at the Dodgers about, it's that, frankly. I'm like, what do you mean I have to think about net present value in this? That's stupid. I don't want to think about it. So I don't.
Time is money, dude.
But we've seen
have you ever considered that time is money?
Fuck. And money is the root of all evil.
And evil walks among us.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be horrible at Second City. They would be booing you off the stage.
I'd be booted. Oh my God. That's why I podcast. No one to boo here.
That's not true. I boo you all the time.
That is true. Yeah. It does seem like following the Kyle Tucker signing, though, the calls for a salary cap sort of kicked into overdrive, right? We got it following the Dodgers winning the World Series. This is unfair. They got Tucker, and the calls grew even louder, right? Lots of anonymous reporting that the owners are 100% pushing for a salary cap. It's sort of the way this is being framed in the media, right, is like this is baseball's Archduke Franz Ferdinand moment, right? This is the signing heard around the world, you know? And
I thought you were just going to say this is baseball's final straw, and you took it like 3 or 4 steps further. And that's what I love about you.
Obviously. That's what the listeners come here for. But I think it's important to sort of disprove that notion a little bit, right? And I think you were tweeting something to this effect. I wouldn't know because I'm on Twitter. I just sort of felt it in my core that you likely were. Which is the idea that any one signing would be...
There's been a disruption in the force.
Right.
Bobby's posting. There's much sadness in his heart. Exactly. You know, it's like how Yoda talks about young Anakin. That's like you when I'm tweeting.
Darkness, I feel.
Hell yeah. We got a Yoda impression 30 minutes in.
Oh.
Anger.
I love the notion that that ownership was on the fence about our salary cap, you know? And this is the thing that pushed it over. It's like, well, if Kyle Tucker had gone to the Giants, we wouldn't even be having this discussion, you know, because at least there'd be some competitive balance. But they've been
we'd never be having that discussion because that would mean the Giants would have had to sign a free agent, and we know that can't happen. We would all know we were in a simulation or we were about to wake up if we saw that.
Boom, roasted. Take that, Chucky J.
Chucky J. Is he still alive? It seems like they've been weekend at Bernieing him for a while.
I think so, yeah. I think technically, like, his kid is nominally the owner of that team at this point. But
weird organization.
Very weird organization.
Yes, it's weird that people are saying that now we need a salary cap, or that the owners are purporting that now they will push for a salary cap. Like they've just been pushed too far and now they need to stand up for themselves. Like, no, they were always going to be asking for a salary cap.
Yeah. Well, and I think that this just drives home what this CBA negotiation will be about, right? Which is a crackdown on labor costs. Even though I think what is so upsetting to people is that the Dodgers are playing by the rules as written at scale and effectively making the league's economic environment like impossible to ignore, right? What they are doing is sort of, I think, waking people up to the fact that there is a real imbalance here. And it might not be the one that you think, but the Dodgers are sort of making it extremely obvious to everyone.
Open your third eye. The Waltons are getting too rich.
That's right. Uh-huh.
Okay. I think I have like kind of an operative question for you that I'm really curious to hear your perspective on. And that question is like, who are people mad at? Are people mad at the Dodgers? Are they mad at the other teams? Are they mad at the union? Are they mad at the league? Are they mad at Rob Manfred? I'm really just like having a hard, because I've seen people be like, well, this is unfair. Like, fuck the Dodgers. Fuck, I hate this team. Fuck them. They keep taking everyone. And then there's even some people who are like, I'm mad at Kyle Tucker because he's running from the grind. You know, I've seen those people out there.
Yeah.
I'm mad at Rob Manfred because he doesn't care what the small town Cincinnati Reds fan thinks about all of this. And I'm just like, I don't know. Who's acting wrong here? Everyone is doing exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right? Kyle Tucker wants to play for the Dodgers. He wants to make more money. The union wants him to make more money. The Dodgers wanted to have him. That's why they offered him more money. Yep. It's like you sort of like you forgot to ask the third party here meme. But the third party is a nameless fan who's probably a bot who lives in Ohio.
Yeah. I do think they're mad at something that they can't see, right? Which is like the financial structure of baseball broadly. And the Dodgers are a really easy scapegoat. But it's true. It's like, is the goal of this complete parity? Is the goal of this to have 30 teams who spend the exact same amount of money and have the exact same level of competition? I mean, maybe for us. Maybe when we nationalize baseball, every team has the same revenue or the same payroll or whatever.
That would be swag. And it's like $100K.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna become like athlete salary panic guy.
Uh-huh.
And I'm gonna do the thing where that people used to do like 10 or 15 years ago. It'd be like $20 million for a reliever. This should be going to the doctors and the nurses. And I'm like, but I'm gonna do it like unironically, you know?
I mean, yes. I mean,
I'm gonna be like, we should seize their means. We should seize their assets and we should actually give it to other people.
I mean,
so that's what I mean though. It's like there's always, you're right. They're mad that like the Dodgers are spending too much and their team, quote unquote, can't spend to keep up with that. But they don't. Most people who levy that criticism don't have a solution for it,
right?
Because then what I hear is like, I hear a lot of people who say, I don't expect all teams to be able to spend the exact same amount of money. I'm reasonable. I understand that the Dodgers make way more, the Yankees make way more, the Mets make way more. By the way, the Kyle Tucker thing was like between the Mets and the Dodgers. So like, would you have been happy if the Mets signed him for 4 years?
Right. Yeah.
$207 million? Like he's still not going to the Pirates. Okay. That's number one. Number two, there's this line of thinking that goes, but this has gotten out of control. You know, I'm a moderate. This idea of like, I'm not really one way or the other way. I just think this is out of hand. I'd like to bring it back down to your dad's version of spending imbalance, where it was just the Yankees and everyone else suppressed spending. I'm like,
God, well, I love the centrist baseball fan.
It is. It's like centrist brain, but for baseball. I'm like, pick a side. Okay. We either have drastic spending imbalances because half the teams don't care about making money. And so they don't care about spending money. They care about the money that the big teams give them as handouts. That's what we have now. Okay, let's be clear-eyed about that. We all know. We can all read. We can all see. If they weren't making money, they would just publish that. But they don't. Because they are. Or we can have the really radical tipping pitches version where every team makes the exact same amount of money or spends the exact same amount of money and the rest of it gets reallocated in society.
Yeah.
Those are the two choices, in my opinion.
Yeah. But in the current landscape, the money's not going to the teachers either way, right? Like there's no, if the Dodgers spend less money, and I know this is not really like the point that people are making, is that it should be reinvested in their communities or whatever. But ultimately, it is either going to the owner or it's going to the player. Those cost savings are not getting passed along to you, the consumer. No. You're not getting cheaper tickets. You're not getting free MLB TV. Like
this is really kind of like a Neo in the Matrix thing for me over the last couple of years, where I'm looking around and I'm just like, this is just neoliberalism. Like what we have here is neoliberalism. Mm-hmm. Like either one business gets it or a different business gets it, but no one else is getting it.
Yeah.
You guys are mad that Google has all the money. Like, do you even understand how hypocritical that is to not think even one layer out further, to be mad that Google, the Dodgers in this case, has all of the money, and like a smaller search engine company can't get enough money, but even still that smaller search engine company is like OpenAI or whatever. Like you guys are mad about the dumbest things in the world. Yeah. But then I look and I see it happen in other places where people will be like, Facebook screwed over Claude or whatever. I don't know. And I'm like, who cares? Let them both die for all I care.
Yeah. It's like, I know we're past the point of pointing out hypocrisy or whatever, but it is really funny how quickly the free market defenders end up hating the free market when there's like consolidation in said market. Once again, open your third eye. Lena Khan has the answer for this.
It's funny that like we really have put a lot of meme stock in Lena Khan.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a lot like Marvin Miller, honestly. You know, I've been joking.
Yeah.
I've been joking a lot about her becoming the next commissioner because I think it's a funny thing to post.
Yeah.
But really, like, she should be the next leader of the union, executive director of the Players Association. I don't know if she cares about baseball. Lena, if you're listening, please let us know. She has some interesting thoughts about hot dogs. But she's like, I'm a capitalist, and I think this is breaking capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
It's been taken too far. And in order to have capitalism, you also have to have consumer liquidity. Otherwise, there's nothing to spend it on. And it's just businesses handing each other money and society crumbling.
Yeah.
Like that's the Lena Khan position, which is kind of the same thing as the Marvin Miller position, which was like, in order for you guys to make money, you guys being the owners, we all have to make money. We have to grow the pie here and then distribute it somewhat equally so that the pie doesn't fold in on itself, I guess. This metaphor. I'm losing the metaphor, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Right. We need a really structurally strong crust. Otherwise, the filling is just going to seep through the bottom and no one's going to be happy.
And that's just how much the Overton window has shifted. You know, we don't have anyone calling for democratic socialism to redistribute the wealth of the baseball world. We need to be the cranks yelling about that still, I think.
Real, yeah.
Bro, the Dodgers got Kyle Tucker. That's the other thing. If the market had cooled on Kyle Tucker and they got him for like 4 years, $160 million, would people still be mad? I guess they would. Right?
I think so. Yes.
So it's really just an outcome-based anger. It has nothing to do with the process that led us to here.
No, I think partially there's a sense of like a misguided sense of inevitability and being like, well, why can't my team do this?
Because they didn't fucking call his agent.
I know.
That's why they don't want him. That's why your team can't do it.
I mean, yes, I agree.
You miss 100% of the Kyle Tuckers you don't call, whose agent you don't call. They got two guys. One of them is Edwin Diaz, and I gotta be honest, I'm mad about that.
Yeah.
But like, it didn't seem like a money thing. It didn't seem like, okay, the Dodgers offered so much more, an exorbitant amount more, that another team could not have retained Edwin Diaz's services. It felt like he was like, I want to win a World Series. I want to make the same amount of money that I could make from the Mets. and I want to go over there because I trust that they're going to make me better. And then they were like in on Bichette. Kinda. I mean, there were rumors. And the other things that they've been in on are like rumored trades for Skubal and for Freddie Peralta. Call me crazy. Did the Brewers not win the most games in baseball last year and then just trade their best pitcher?
Right.
Arguably their best player?
Yeah.
They don't even want the guys who are good on their team who are cost controlled anymore.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, the Dodgers are a really good example of like what happens when there is a team that makes huge revenues, is relatively sophisticated financially, and has an ownership group that is like willing to spend. Those, and the Dodgers are in a sort of unique situation because they are in a large, really visible market. They have the most globally visible baseball player maybe ever. I think even Scott Boras has sort of pointed out that like they have this huge buoy in Shohei Ohtani just because he is a boon to them, frankly, to their popularity, to the revenue.
A buoy and a boon.
A buoy and a boon. You don't see that much anymore. But that in and of itself doesn't necessarily feel like a reason to radically restructure baseball's financial system. Like, you fans really should be saying, you guys are making so much money, you should end growing the game as a result of it, right? These things feed into each other. You are making baseball more popular by having such a big visible presence.
That's why the other owners don't care. That's why they don't actually mean it when they say they don't want the Dodgers to spend money.
Right. But like, if I'm a fan of another team, my take is you should be giving some of that money to us. We should be getting bigger revenue sharing. This should be going into a centralized. I know.
Going over the CBT, they're doing their best to give more of their money to the other teams. That is my actual take and opinion. I'm like, do you want them to be just under the competitive balance tax and not giving any money to these other teams, like all the other, quote unquote big market teams are doing? Like you'd rather them be tweeting if you know, like the Red Sox did. Like this is fucking dumb. This is stupid. Okay, the fan response to the Dodgers, to me, is indicative of a larger symptom of brainworms in our society, which is rather than express your frustration at what the Dodgers are doing and say, I want my team to beat them. I don't like that they've gotten all the players. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't like that the Dodgers signed Kyle Tucker. I don't like that the Dodgers signed Edwin Diaz. I don't care that they signed Ohtani. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. But I don't like that all of the best players might end up on the Dodgers. I don't like that from a baseball watching perspective. Reasonable feeling to have. Mm-hmm. Rather than get mad and root against them, rather than hope that your team full of professional baseball players who definitely can beat the Dodgers, because we just watched the Blue Jays basically do it twice and just have bad luck. Rather than that, what we see is a bunch of people just like complaining about the rule book. A bunch of monopoly players who are like, you shouldn't be able to, buy Park Avenue. Like that's that's dumb. You're playing the game. We're playing the game.
Bro, literally, when my wife gets mad at me for winning a Monopoly, I'm like, what do you want me to do? Wait, give you some of my properties? Get less money? I play to win, baby. Play harder. This is why that game is not allowed in our household.
Well, okay. So then and we could talk about that then. We could talk about whether or not the game of baseball is not allowed in our household anymore because it seems too unfair. But like, that's not the conversation that people are having, really. Yeah. The conversation is like, we have to change the rules. We have to change the rules to suit me better. We must help me out more. I only want to put in this much effort, so we must change the rules to cater to this much effort.
Can you do the rest of the podcast in that voice, please?
I'm just kind of like, fuck, no. And by the way, like, it doesn't even matter. Like, the fans don't see the benefit of any of this, because even if you put in a salary cap, the Reds aren't winning the World Series. They're not. We also have like pretty good parity in baseball. I wonder a lot as we sort of transition away from the Dodgers here, but I do wonder how different the temperature of this conversation would be if the Dodgers only won one of the last two.
Yeah.
Or even like 2 of the last 5, let alone 3 of the last 5. I wonder about that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think like the average baseball fan, myself included, sort of has the memory of a goldfish, right? It's like whatever sort of has happened within the last year or two is the most pressing, urgent issue to address. But I don't know. Were people screaming about the Yankees when they were assembling super teams in like the 90s and early 2000s? Like, I mean,
I think they were.
Maybe.
I think they were.
But then it was okay, right? But then their dynasty ended and other teams started winning. Like, isn't this sort of the natural rhythm of baseball, of sports in general, is that teams ebb and flow? Now,
yeah.
I want
to use the Reds. Were people screaming about the big red machine? Were they like,
right.
Fuck, we got to change baseball?
Right, exactly. When the A's won 3 World Series in a row, were they like, we have to break up the A's? No, I recognize the circumstances are a little bit different. And the Dodgers certainly are pushing it to the limit in terms of like what they are able to do in this environment. But again, it's like we haven't even really seen other teams try and respond. It's just yelling about the rule book
while a dog dunks on them.
Right, yeah, exactly. I wasn't going to make the reference on 2 straight episodes, but
I think that you did it on a Patreon episode, so I think
okay, it's fine. It's fine.
All right, let's talk about the CBA. Let's talk about the 2026-2027 lockout, which is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
We will have a lockout. It will go into effect at 12:01 Eastern on the day that the CBA expires.
Yeah,
after the season ends.
So I think that'll be December 1, right?
Yeah, I think so. They will not do meaningful negotiation before that. They will not do meaningful negotiation even before the end of 2026. They will come back at the beginning of January. They might have a couple sessions before January, but they will come back in January and they will really start to make progress. We'll get a bunch of updates from reporters, from plugged in reporters about what each side is most mad about, what they're most focused on, what their priorities are. We've already even started to get some of that stuff because we're starting to get the stories about small market owners being frustrated and how they're definitely going to push 100% for a salary cap. We got that story from Evan Drellick of The Athletic, New York Times last week. And I don't know. I'm curious about what, I know we talked a little bit about this on the state of labor in baseball, but through this lens of everything we've been talking about and the news and how the offseason has gone and Kyle Tucker, like, do you take that claim even 5% more seriously than you took it the day after the World Series ended?
The push for a salary cap?
Yeah.
No. I don't think anything has changed. I mean, they have been telegraphing this for multiple years now. Right? We kind of knew this was coming.
Do you take it seriously? Do you think they are going to push for a salary cap?
I mean, yeah. Whether or not they are serious about getting it is maybe another question, but it's a pretty sizable bargaining chip, right? And
it must be nice to be the management side on a fucking labor negotiation. You can just say stupid shit that you want, and the other side has to take it seriously.
Right. Well, and it seems like ownership, generally speaking, is probably willing to lose games over this. Public opinion largely stands in favor of that too. There was like an MLB Trade Rumors readership poll from like last month or something like that. That basically said like, yes, like a majority of fans think that, spending is out of control and we need to get it under, and we need to like get our hands around it before the Dodgers run away. And like half of baseball fans, respondents to this poll at the very least, are willing to lose games over this in 2027.
That's so insane.
which is actually mind-boggling to me that I care so much about this that I am willing to take less baseball on my television simply so that we can put the Dodgers in check, knowing that realistically it is not going to impact my team's ability to compete on its face.
Or any part of myself in the equation. It's not going to impact what my team charges me for tickets. It's not going to impact the price of MLB TV. No. It's not. If anything, losing games, they will charge you more for those things because they'll say we lost out on this revenue and they're going to try to make up the gap. So it's actually worse for you as a fan if you think that you're going to lose games and it's going to suddenly get better.
Yeah. The other aspect of this, right, is that, and I think this is clear at this point, is that a cap would not come without a floor.
Yep.
That's a sort of dangerous proposition for owners as well, because that likely means more transparency into how the money is actually being spent, how revenue sharing is showing up on the field.
And what revenue is. Like
what revenue is, how much they make, and where it's actually ending up. And that's not something they are interested in justifying.
Right. Leagues with salary caps are always like arguing about what counts as sports revenue. You know, what counts as basketball revenue? It's like, are these sponsorships included in that money? Or, you know, are these partnerships that we have with different sports books that are team by team? Is this included in basketball revenue? They have to argue about these things all the time. And obviously the answer is yes, it's all baseball revenue. It's all basketball revenue. But they're just going to spend so much time nickel and diming each other over what counts and what doesn't count so that they can hide more money in their Cayman Islands funds or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a little bit hilarious. Like, I don't want a salary cap and I don't think that we should have one. And I think it's silly, but it is a little bit hilarious for me to think about the idea of a bunch of owners pushing for a salary cap. And that salary cap being, you know, whatever number they come up with, let's just say $250 million, just for the sake of argument. And the salary floor being 90% of that or 85% of that, meaning that all of these teams who have been benefited by getting handout checks from the Dodgers and Yankees and Mets of the world for the last eternity will then have to go from spending $70 million to $180 million. Like, there's literally not enough players for them to hand out that much money to. And whatever, if you want to say that it's like gradually instituted, I don't even care. There's not enough players that they want to employ for them to get to that number. It's fantasy. It's fantasy to think that we will go from the situation that we have now to a salary cap without years and years of missing games.
Yeah. And I, to be clear, I don't think we get a salary cap. I mean, I know some of this is retreading ground that we covered in the State of Labor in Baseball with Michael Bauman a few weeks ago. But like, it's a useful bargaining chip and not something that I think we're likely to get. I think it's more likely that we end up seeing harsher penalties in the competitive balance tax, you know, perhaps in exchange for like more visibility on how revenue sharing is being used or something like that. Now, obviously, these are the two easiest things to sort of interplay with each other, but they're not the only things that are like factoring into these discussions, or even really the only major sticking points that are on the table. I mean, it's no secret that this comes sort of as baseball's media rights landscape collapses. And I do think that's probably contributing to some of the outrage around team spending, because there are teams who like genuinely have seen a portion of their revenue dwindle as rights payments don't get paid and like whatnot. I'm not going to pretend like that.
I have a take about that.
Yeah. I mean, chime in, do it. Give your take.
Perhaps you shouldn't have said yes to the fake money that you knew you weren't going to get because these cable companies were failing. But you said yes to inflate your value for the last 2 decades, and you kept doubling down on that system despite obvious signs of unhealthiness in it. That's all. You know what I hear? I hear you throwing the rule book on the table being like, please change the rules for me.
Yep. Sounds like you're not a very good business person.
You know why the Dodgers TV contract hasn't tanked? Because people actually want to watch the games.
Right.
Sorry you have to do business and commerce I'm sure that's really hard for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you have to actually make enough money to cover your expenses. Wow. See, I didn't get my MBA, but I've heard from some people that they learned that they were supposed to do that when they got their MBA.
Sowing while my franchise value increases. Fuck yeah, this fucking rules. Reaping when all of those revenue streams were fake. Well, fuck, this fucking sucks.
Cry more. Some people in this country actually have to work for that. They actually have to work to run their business.
Mm-hmm.
Cry more, lib.
But I think that like these negotiations and all these claims being made by ownership happen in the context of like two key things, which is the ultimate consolidation of baseball's media rights, which will, if everything works out all right, provide a pretty good windfall to teams, and eventual expansion. Which
what happens when there's two more teams who don't want to sign their best players who then go to the Dodgers? What then?
I don't know, because they're each going to be pocketing like $150 million in expansion fees. So who cares? I'm sitting.
From what I understand, $150 million, you lose that at the bottom of your purse when you're an MLB owner. I mean, basically, to open the gates, they have to fork over $150 million if you believe Al Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
I mean, to even open one single gate at Yankee Stadium costs minimum $50 million.
Yeah, I
50.
think so.
I mean, for one guy to come and unlock the gates for people to go through those gates, I mean, it's $50 million minimum. And trying to get into a Yankees game, you could tell because there's no fucking gates open and the line's always so goddamn long.
I don't know. What else do you think is going to be relevant? Like outside of the explicit competitive balance, like cap, floor, luxury tax, broadly. Like, are there other things that you think are going to come into play here that maybe we're not talking about enough?
Well, it's so interesting that you say in your mind that the bargaining chip, the trade for stricter penalties on going over the CBT will be a better window into what revenue sharing looks like. I think I like slightly disagree because I think that basically the Players Association over the last 10 years has been shown that revenue sharing is kind of a sham. That revenue sharing as a mechanism for getting guys who aren't fortunate enough to get drafted into the 10 largest franchises, for getting those people actual money, for reallocating money across the player pool. And so I actually think that, based on what the last CBA focused on, that a fair trade in terms of the things that are structurally tied to each other in the baseball market is, if they are so insistent on stricter penalties for the competitive balance tax, to put more money in the pools that they have developed for young players to get paid earlier in their career while they're still pre-free agency, while they're in ARB, while they're pre-ARB, these types of mechanisms like the Super 2 system, the awards bonus pool, things of this nature that will actually allow that actually reckon with the problem of like older players getting way more than younger players, and teams not wanting to pay older players anymore because of an analytical shift in how they value players. So that feels like the trade to me. So if I have sitting here January 25th, 2026, I think that we will get stricter penalties on the CBT. I think that we will get, in exchange for functionally, more money in that pre-arbitration player bonus pool. That's how I see it. I don't think we'll get any changes to arbitration and team control outside of maybe a little bit more money for those players if they achieve certain achievements. I honestly don't know what to think about deferred money, because it's such a bad PR problem for them, because it's gotten so far out of control by owners planting stories about it to reporters who are willing, by fans focusing way too much on it, by the Dodgers doing this really drastic thing because of a fluke event and who Shohei Ohtani is internationally. I actually think they will change that system, even though I don't think that it will have any sort of material impact. I just think they're going to change it to cover their asses. I think basically like you will be charged the average annual value. Like that deferred money won't change the amount that you have to set aside for the competitive balance tax. But that fucks with like revenue sharing too, though.
Yeah.
Because that means that a team is not actually spending. If they've deferred the money, but they're being penalized anyway for it, then that means the balance of their revenue versus their expenditure changes. I don't think that it will change it so much that like teams that were payers will now become receivers, teams that were receivers will now become payers. But like in theory, there are edge cases where like a team in a middle market team is like, wait, I deferred this money so that I would stay under this luxury tax number, or that I wouldn't have to pay it out or be considered paying it out because I don't actually have it. JP Morgan has it. And they're going to be like, fuck. Now I have to pay it to the Rays or something.
Yeah.
So I have to ask JP Morgan for more money. There are probably going to be edge cases like that if they change this rule.
Yeah. Do you think we see a resurgence of a push for an international draft? Because this was sort of the huge, sort of final piece of the puzzle that never actually really came together in the last round of negotiations, right? There was a trade being proposed where effectively we would get an international draft in exchange for an elimination of the qualifying offer.
Yeah.
It ultimately didn't materialize because the two sides couldn't get really even close on how much money was going to be spent, was going to be dedicated to an international draft. But obviously, the ownership would like more cost control in international signings. The qualifying offer depresses free agent optionality, depresses the market a little bit for free agents because there are penalties tied to signing qualifying offer guys. So it feels like we haven't really talked about this since that idea fizzled in whatever June or July following the signing of last CBA. But do you think that like it makes a resurgence here, or are there too many other factors going on to like dedicate meaningful time to this?
I think we're going to get it.
You think so?
Yeah. I think that enough people don't understand really how a draft impacts player value and market. And in exchange for the simplification of the system, which is now really convoluted and very toxic, that enough people will just be like, yeah, I don't know how we continue to fight this.
Mm-hmm.
It feels kind of weird because like all things being equal, it'd be great if we didn't have any draft at all. That would be great for a player's market. They could choose to sign wherever they wanted. And in theory, making a lot of logical leaps here, but like a player getting to choose where they sign at the beginning of their career means that they are more likely to want to stay there for the entirety of their career, which is something that we as fans say that we wish we had still.
Mm-hmm.
But like you don't really have the problem with every year 7 guy signing with the Dodgers, Mets, or Yankees. If they had the chance to sign with if they're the type of person who would have just signed with the Dodgers, Mets, or Yankees to begin with, at least then we know, and it doesn't feel like every franchise's star was just waiting for his opportunity to go sign his big payday. That's like there's a lot of different factors involved in that. And I don't actually think that would necessarily even be the outcome if we got rid of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard for me to imagine a world in which the rank and file as it's currently constructed can get on the same page enough to push back against the owner saying they want this for another round of bargaining.
Yeah.
So I guess if I had to predict, I would say yes to the international draft. And it's going to be, to me, there's like an insane amount of variance in how damaging that is to the market that we won't know about for like 5 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of these things that they're going to push for, there's not really a ton of precedent in how that will affect a certain player's value. And so they're just going to be throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what the players are willing to agree to. And I think we won't even really know what benefits they've signed away if they agree to that for a long time. And that's part of why it's hard to push back against it, because you're not going to be able to say like, yeah, well, next year this person won't have this in their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think some of those things that are not so revenue based, that are like structural things, like the international draft, or also like this idea of like a free agency window that's come up a few times in the last few years. It's really hard for me to tell like which side cares about them more. I mean, I guess with the international draft, I think that like the ownership side wants it more than the players really care to try to keep it from happening, which is part of why I think it will happen. But like the free agency window feels so anti-player and doesn't really seem like the owners even want it. Certainly the GMs don't want it because they're like, my life will be ruined for a month.
Yeah.
I don't know. Doesn't seem like that will happen because I don't really see the upside for either side.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. As specifically between these two things, they've already sort of come out. Clark has come out and said, I mean, obviously, as his sort of his role as union leader of like this,
show up and be like, anything I've heard the owners want. No,
no, we don't want that. But the fact that they got relatively close, right? They at least had a sort of framework of an agreement on an international draft last time around does make me inclined to think that they'll probably reach that on this.
You know, we haven't talked about Tony much recently.
Yeah.
We haven't really even talked about Rob or Morgan Sword or who's the other guy?
What, Dan Halem?
Dan Halem.
Mm-hmm.
Because we talk a lot about like the sequence of events that leads to a topic being, you know, earmarked to be bargained over. Like the Kyle Tucker signing with the Dodgers, a bunch of people talking about the salary cap. And you and I obviously look structurally at these things and we look at the entire picture, the whole pie of baseball, its revenues, how successful it is, real estate, gate receipts, RSNs, the political climate allowing owners to make more or less money. Like we look at all of these things when we talk about what the state of labor is and what we're headed for an expiring CBA. But there is kind of like a micro world that matters here too. And that is like the relationship between the league and the union. And in turn, the relationship between all of the teams and the rank and file players in the union. But like, if you drill down even further, if there are things that like Rob and Tony feel like they have common ground on, those things will get pushed through bargaining easier. I just feel like I have no idea what those things are if they exist.
Yeah.
Because Rob made like a big fuss after the last negotiation about needing to have a better relationship with Tony and the union and the players. And so far, what evidence I have seen from that is Rob and Tony still have a terrible relationship, and Rob has gone into the clubhouse of all of the teams and been met with potential violence.
Yeah.
So what am I meant to take from that, I guess?
Well, I think a third of that claim from Rob is true. I don't think he really cares about having a better relationship with Tony or the union, but it is evident, and he's stated as much, that it is really important for MLB to be talking directly to players, make their pitch directly, go around some of the traditional avenues of negotiating, and try and sort of wage a war of public opinion. Go to the rank and file and say, look, leadership is not representing your best interests. You are the disappearing middle class.
They're like, we'll fight this war in the boardrooms and in the streets and on the airwaves.
Yeah, it's real. It is really interesting because when Rob first entered the commissionership, one of his stated goals was improving relations with players, between the league and players.
How would you grade him on that?
And it's really funny in retrospect. Seeing everything that has happened in the last 15 years, 10 years. How long has he been in office?
2015. So
okay, so 10 years, yeah.
Although they announced that he was going to be at like the end of 2014.
Right. I don't know that he's been successful, but there's still time left on the clock. This could be, this could be his CBA, where he rolls over and says, look, I'm leaving anyway.
Leave it worse than you found it.
You're right. Exactly. I think he should go to the table and be like, look, Tony, I really don't give a shit. I'm cashing my check either way.
Neither he nor Tony is going to be at the table. It will be, once again, Dan Halem and Bruce Meyer at the table.
Yeah.
I think there's an interesting case to be made that this being Rob's last CBA is an awesome organizing opportunity for the Players Association.
Yeah.
To be like, this is our last time to stick it to him.
Yeah.
And
you've had to deal with a decade of this bullshit.
His smarmy, lawyerly nonsense, him getting up there and putting a bad reputation on the game by calling the World Series trophy that you guys fight tooth and nail for, that you train over, a hunk of metal, everything he did to you guys during the pandemic, just like run back the greatest hits of anti-Rob nonsense and be like, this is our last time to beat him.
Yeah.
This is the player that you hate retiring. You could send him home crying, missing the playoffs for his last year.
This is for practicing your golf swing while we were negotiating the last CBA. Like, bring it all up. We got the receipts. We've been covering it.
Interesting organizing opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Not that I would ever expect anyone from the Players Association to take advice from little old me and you, but I'm just saying. There's a lot of fervor out there in the streets against Rob.
We will be your fearless foot soldiers. We will carry that message. We will carry the water for you.
The pitch clock has softened fans too much on Rob. We got to bring back anti-Rob sentiment.
Of course. Yes.
Like, oh, he did the pitch clock. All right, whatever. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? I don't. I certainly don't. So now I pay 40% more than I paid 3 years ago for 20% less game. Make that make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I care about the average fan's wallet. Call me crazy.
I think we can do it. I think we can be the cheerleaders against Rob Manfred this year. That is our stated goal. It's always been the stated goal of this podcast, but we're doubling down in 2026.
It really hasn't. It's not always been the stated goal of this podcast. For a long time, the stated goal of this podcast was to be like, man, dude, did you see that player? That player's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then,
bro, this guy has a beard. He's a gentrifier.
We make a lot of reference to like the first 10 episodes of this pod that no one, like statistically speaking, no one's listened to those compared to the people listening right now.
No one's listened to, and it's not even really representative of what like the next 7 years of the podcast would be, but it's okay.
When do you think it shifted? When was the exact moment that the podcast got weird?
That it got weird? I think we hit our stride in probably 2019. I think 2020 broke a lot of things around baseball, including the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when we went woke.
Yeah. I actually think we were more woke by the bastardized definition of woke. I think we were more quote unquote woke before 2020.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now we're dark woke. Is that what you're saying?
I just think we got really Marxist, which I don't even think that like, that's not even really what the right means when they say woke.
Can we do a 10-minute diatribe on what woke means today?
No, I actually want you to, in the last 90 seconds here of the podcast, to define what Marxism-Leninism is. Marxist-Leninism?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want me to do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
We should.
How do you think Lenin would have wanted us to run the revolution now?
Right through all 30 ownership boxes, frankly.
Okay, that feels like as good a place as any to end the podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry if you're sick of hearing us talk about the Dodgers. I don't know. They're the only team doing anything.
Yeah.
It's really not even true. The Mets are doing a lot.
I know the Mets did like a shit ton this past week. We did not discuss it.
Bo Bichette is cool and good. I'm excited to root for him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited that Tyrone Taylor's still got to be getting 500 plate appearances in center field because Luis Roberts is going to get hurt in April.
Oh.
Just kidding. I'm wishing him the best. bounce back season, obviously. Freddie Peralta, hell yeah, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just really happy that people are finally seeing how great David Stearns is and how supportive of him I've always been. I like that is just a really gratifying thing for me to observe.
Yeah. But you've said this to me plenty of times, both on
publicly,
and off the
privately.
podcast. Yeah.
Exactly. There's many text messages where I'm like, David Stearns is going to get this back on track.
Yeah. You said trust the process. Just wait.
He's running the team exactly like I would. Exactly how I imagined.
You were starting to sound a little bit like a QAnon supporter. You were like, big things coming.
Yes.
Storms coming.
Secret messages.
Stay awake.
About the Peralta acquisition. It's funny that he's just rebuilding the 2023 Milwaukee Brewers, like literally and figuratively, with like a $340 million payroll.
Let's see if it works.
Not as funny as Brian Cashman rebuilding the 2025 Yankees, who suck. But like 15% more expensive. Okay, got my Yankees dig in. Thanks for listening. If you are looking for more tipping pitches, you can find it over at patreon.com/tippingpitches, where we have 2 tiers, $5 for base level support, $10 for extra episodes. We've done a lot of great episodes this offseason, including a watch along of the 1994 film The Scout, a normal thing for 3 men to do.
A good movie.
You
guys panned it.
Evening.
Cowardly thing to do.
Well, why don't you boot up the old Letterboxd app and share your real thoughts then? It's not like you were on the pod being like, guys, this is what cinema's all about. I mean, you weren't exactly heaping it with praise either, bro.
It's because I save my real thoughts for the Letterboxd. It's coming.
Oh my God, dude. You, much like Malcolm Gladwell, love to participate in revisionist history. You love to pretend like, oh, I actually liked it all along.
I did. I gave it 5 stars.
That is true. Yes, we did that. We've also done normal bonus episodes this season. True. You know, like we also did an expanded version of the State of Labor in Baseball with Bauman, where we talked about the state of consumerism. I guess that's not really that normal. We did the dumbest things of 2025 expanded, which was a wonderful episode. We did the 21st Century MLB Partnerships Graveyard expanded. A lot of great stuff over there. Go check it out. Aside from that, we'll be back right here on this feed next week to discuss Blueprints. We'll see you then.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Rodriguez. Tipping pitches.
Tipping pitches.
This is the one that I love the most.
Tipping pitches.
So we'll see you next week. See ya!